For those of you that do not know me, my name is Chad Murphy. Hi. I am Managing Director of Youth for the International Bowling Campus Youth Team. How many of you were in the annual meeting this morning? Awesome. That's great. Thanks for being there. We are going to take some of the information that you heard there and drive down a little deeper. When it comes to youth leagues, how many of you have just more kids than you need? Can't take any more? We're done. Right. I will tell you that this industry has really gotten behind youth bowling. The idea that there would be this many people in a room talking about youth bowling is pretty amazing. We are going to cover just about everything that's in this Youth League Development Guide that we put out about a month ago. Has anybody seen this guide before today? A few of you? Well, this will be kind of a refresher course on it. Literally everything in it we're going to walk through on a step-by-step basis. As we go through the presentation, I'm open and all in for questions as we go along. There's lots of ways to do this. I built a solid 20-25 minutes for questions into the presentation. Also for ideas. The one thing that I think we've been pretty consistent in saying is that we certainly do not have all the answers. We are trying to arm bowling centers and youth directors and proprietors with new tools and ideas that will obviously enhance the profitability of your businesses. But there are a lot of ways to do this, and there is no one way. I talk about it all the time. If there were a magic bullet that is youth bowling, we might have found it by now. I mean, we've been working on youth bowling. A lot of you have been doing it for a long period of time. So it's that continual kind of grind and trying to figure it out. What's that next thing that is going to attract kids and parents? And we're going to cover a little bit of that today. I want to start just by saying why. Why is the industry getting so much behind this group? How many of you have kids yourselves? How many of them bowl? How many of them play baseball? How many of them play basketball? How many of them play soccer? How many of you have as many bowlers as you had in your centers 15 years ago? Bowling has been historically a generational sport. I learned it from my grandparents who owned a bowling center in Hutchinson, Kansas. It's passed down from father to son, mother to daughter. I think you guys all know kind of that path. We've skipped a generation of bowlers within bowling, so it's not going to be as easy for us to just have it passed down like it was before. We're going to have to get outside of our four walls and spend some time marketing in our communities. I think the one thing that bowling has always been is a nice community-based activity, game, sport. Yeah? It's a gathering place, bowling centers are. On Saturday mornings for a lot of years it was teams of kids that were competing against each other. A lot of those sports that are going on, the baseballs and the soccers, they have evolved. There's select teams and all-star teams and AAA teams and all that goes with that. So there's a lot more of those kids doing that more often across the country, and they have less time to bowl than they have in the past. And the reality of that is Saturday mornings just probably isn't enough anymore. We've got to look at Tuesday and Thursday afternoons and Sunday afternoons and Saturday afternoons. But we must engage and we must focus. This isn't something that we can just allow to happen. We're not going to open up our doors and have them come in anymore. We've got to focus on this segment and really think about how we are engaging them and what we're offering. And I say it all the time, IBC Youth was created to help proprietors deliver in this area. It really was. When I moved in at BPAA April 10th of 2010, there were 2 people working at BPA and youth and 5 people working on the USBC side. We were massively understaffed to really focus on this area. And there are 13 people in there working today, and they're there for you guys. Whatever it is that you need. There will be certainly things that we do that you may not agree with. There will certainly be things that we do that are home runs and big wins like 8 for 8 was. But there's something going on in your center, someone over here, that can be helpful for someone over here. And there's something up here that will be helpful back there and all around this room. And we've got to be kind of the gatekeepers of that and get that information out of you somehow, even though you might not be willing to talk about it, so that it can work over here and back there and all of those places. And that's what things like this are meant to do. Everything you're going to see today, we built a portal. It's a tool for you. It's a youth resource center. Everything that you could imagine. And we passed out a card so you could take it home with you so it would be easy for you to remember. But everything you see today is available out online at bowl.com/youth resource center. There's a password to get in. It's youth. It's great if you take notes as the day goes on, but if you forget about something, it's all out there. Quality marketing materials. These are examples for USA Bowling. And I'll go back. When you land into the portal, there are 6 buttons that you can choose. Youth 101, which is essentially how-to guides and marketing materials to run your standard Saturday morning youth program. How many of you are using Bowlopolis today? That's button number 2. There are 96 different assets inside that portal for Bowlopolis. Bounce back coupons, invitations for birthday parties, everything that you could possibly need to market your birthday parties and or some of your youth leagues with Bowlopolis is available inside that resource center, and all you have to do is download and print. You can certainly slam it on a zip drive and take it over to Kinko's or FedEx or wherever you're making copies at, but it is that simple. It's 3 clicks away in most cases. USA Bowling, and I use this as a big example. We'll talk about it later, but everything you see here is available. Posters, banners, counter cards. Whether you're using the structure of USA Bowling like we'd like you to use it, or whether you just want to use this brand to help market your youth programs, it's okay. And if you literally want to brand your Saturday morning program with USA Bowling because it just looks new and fresh, everything's out there for you to do it today. And again, they're 3 clicks, maybe 4 clicks away. But there's 65 assets within the USA Bowling portal through this Youth Resource Center. These are the types of tools that we will continue to provide. Yes, ma'am. You can do either one. We like to try to play in our own sandboxes sometimes, but sometimes we have to do both. We originally placed it at bpa.com, but if you type it in there, you can get there both ways. If you go to bowl.com and the youth pages, there are banners all over it where you can click on that Youth Resource Center. If you go to bpa.com in the youth area, there are banners where you can just click on that banner and it'll go straight to it. So lots of ways to do it. I call these recruitment materials. There are kind of 2 different ways to go about doing this today. We spend a lot of time on retention. And when I say we, I mean bowling. From a USBC membership product that provides jerseys and awards and all the things that it's done in the past, to tournaments. You guys run a few tournaments, I would assume. You want those kids bowling and doing things on the side. What we struggle with is recruitment. I believe that one of the biggest pieces that is the secret to this sauce, if you will, are those quality marketing materials. How many of you ran 8 for 8? A few of you, so it'll be a refit for this piece when we get to it. That is one of the biggest things that we can help you provide. And a lot of centers are going to market today with black and white flyers that look very similar that you wouldn't really know was a youth activation. And so we want to provide quality, what I call business services. Did you hear Steve talk about that as one of the things that we're going to provide at BPAA in the coming years? We're really already doing it in the youth department. We have a full-time creative person that is available to help you customize anything that you see on that Youth Resource Center. Literally, all you have to do is send us the information, and we'll customize it for you. We'll get it back to you so you can print it at home, or you can pay to have us print it and send it to you. I really believe strongly that this is something that is needed in the marketplace. We've just been kind of stale. We've got our Saturday morning programs, and they're there. People are working hard. Some folks are doing a great job with coaching and skill development. Others aren't. But how do we, again, get outside those 4 walls and have someone see something that's appealing? Join a team, compete with friends, learn to bowl. Those are 3 very powerful messages. And there are 3 very powerful messages that mean something different to a different family or a different group of kids. You know, they might be attracted to join a team because it's social. It's peer-to-peer. Obviously, compete with friends is a piece of that. And then learn to bowl. I want to get better at something. I want to get in there and build my self-confidence and feel like I'm gaining on a skill no different than reading, math, baseball, basketball, any of those other things that go on. Facts. Every good organized program has to have a few things. And as I walk through these, you should ask yourself, does my youth program today have these things as part of it? And we can get into the very direct details of what provides that. But these are the things that the experts say. There are 3 unbelievable studies out there, and I would encourage you to go read them. This one is, if you just Google extracurricular activities, this is one of the first ones that will come up. We are an extracurricular activity, which is something that they do outside of what? School and sleep. So they choose to do something else. We are an extracurricular activity. This one was done by the University of Nevada, Reno. If you Google youth sports, Michigan State did one. It's called Youth Sports in America. And it's a lot of pages, but it's an awesome read. It'll get you down right to the detail on which parents you should be choosing to coach in your program and which you should stay away from. It's that kind of detail that we're looking at in these types of things. And then Rutgers did one that's real strong. It's called Youth Sports of Today. But you just Google those things, they'll come right up and you can read them. But as an example, these kids, when they come in and they're a part of your programming, they need to feel like they're a part of a group or something special. And I am going to make some examples. I don't mean them to be offensive, but they are what they are. We'll take a child or a couple kids that just wanted to bowl in our programming, and for the most part, we'll toss them on a team on a Saturday morning, and the first thing they do is come in and do what? About 5, maybe 10 minutes of practice, and they start scoring. They don't necessarily even know the kids that they're bowling with at that point. I don't know that we've even introduced them to them. But if that's the first step, we got a little bit of a communication gap. Youth have the opportunity to develop relationships. We certainly do some of that, but are we doing a great job at it? And that's the question. The program has goals that encourage youth to achieve great things. Maybe? No? Kinda? We want them to want to do what? We want them to want to succeed. We want them to want to get better. We want them to want to take the next steps. We do not want them to stay where they are. If they come in and they're a 60 average bowler, we want them to get to 70 and 75 to 90. This isn't a new concept, but some of the structure of our programming doesn't necessarily push that. And there's a difference between just letting it happen and pushing it. And that's what we have to do moving forward. We want them to want to get better. Program has rules that hold participants accountable to certain standards. We certainly have that. I will tell you, when we combined the youth departments, I found the rules department pretty quickly. We are very good at that on the USBC side. I learned a lot of the things that I couldn't do pretty quickly. We do have rules and standards for the sport, and they're very important. So that's an easy one. Youth can take on leadership roles. The program is appropriate for the age group. Do you have 10-year-olds bowling with 17-year-olds? Do you have 8-year-olds bowling with 15-year-olds? Is it appropriate for the age group? We want them bowling in age buckets. We want them in a peer-to-peer environment that they can excel in. I'll let you determine how wide that age gap is. Is it 8 to 11 or 8 to 10 or 11 to 16 or 12 to 18 in some cases? Our Pepsi tournament for the last few years, 13 and 19-year-olds bowling in the same age buckets, 12 and 5-year-olds bowling in the same age buckets. Doesn't really fit. It just doesn't. Some of the things that we believe make us the strongest because we've been doing them so long in bowling are absolutely the things that make us the weakest. And that's a pretty strong statement, but I promise you it's true. I promise you it's true. The program involves parents and peers. We did a survey when I first came into BPA. It was one of the, Henry Lusick was working at BPA at the time, and he told me that it was the highest participated in survey that they had in 5 years. We had 518 proprietors that took the time to fill out the survey. And there were 2 really strong things that stood out in the survey. The first one was we asked them, how many of you have someone dedicated to youth in your center, a youth director? Folks like my mom when I was growing up, somebody that was working on youth in that center and only working on youth. Less than 23% of the centers said that they actually had someone dedicated to youth. I would not telling you how to run your business. I'm offering a alternative, and I'm challenging you to do it a little bit differently. We've got to get back to this. We've got to have people focused and energized on this. And the second piece of it was we asked them how many coaches do they have ratio-wise to the kids in their centers. That survey showed us that there's about one coach for every 45 kids in this country. What do you do if you're me? I mean, seriously, think about that. My kids play baseball, they play basketball, of course they bowl. They do a lot of different things. And in those other sports, there's one, at least probably two, if not three parents for every 10 or 11 kids. I would tell you it's close to 1 in 4. The reality of what I'm talking about here is we're not even competing. Youth bowling is something that competes for the time and energy of every kid in this country with everything else that's activated through youth activities. So if we're not putting a product on the floor that competes in those areas, we just cannot look outside to say, well, what happened? I lost my youth program. I used to have 300 kids and now I got 40. How many coaches do you have? Well, I lost my volunteers too. I bet if you go back in time and you looked at it, we had a lot more folks doing it. And again, I'm here to work with you after you walk out the door today. For the next hour, I'm here to challenge you. I'm here to get you to think about these things differently than maybe we're thinking about them today. So don't feel like it's offensive, because I can certainly come off that way sometimes. There's a few people in the room that can vouch for that. But again, these are the things that we're talking about. Do your programs individually have these things? I know some of yours do. We've got some of the best folks in the country in this room today. And I will tell you the number one thing that's probably different. Vicki Bowman's in here today, right? Somewhere, Vicki? Hello, Vicki Bowman? There she is. She's our USBC Proprietor of the Year, and one of the reasons she got that award because she's trained so many coaches in her center. She's created a culture around that. And they're full. Vicki, what was it, about 2 years ago we sat together and we were talking about how to floor a USA bowling program in her center, and she's like, I just don't have capacity. She's full. And I said, well, how many coaches do you have? And she said, we pretty much have one per lane. And I said, wow, you don't need us. Keep doing what you're doing. But again, that's not the way it is across everything that we just saw. It's about them having fun. And we put them out there and we think that they're having fun, whether we provide these things or not. But it will come to an apex. It will come to a fork in the road where they have to decide, those kids, whether they're having more fun doing something else or whether they're having fun doing what our situation is giving them. And so we really have to work hard here. How many of you have enough coaches or feel like they have enough coaches in your programs today? A few of you. So I'm definitely talking to the right group. Thanks for coming. Because it's one thing to say, I don't have that problem. It's another thing to say, I do have that problem and I'm going to go try to figure out a way. People ask me all the time, how do I get more coaches involved? My answer is simple. You just ask. And you ask again. And you ask again. And here's one that no one will consider. I was working at Columbia Industries down in San Antonio. We moved to Clarksville, Tennessee when Ebonite bought out our brands. And they were nice enough to offer me a job, which I accepted. And we got in late. We were one of the last kids to sign up for T-ball. Josh was 6 at the time. And we got a note back from the Parks and Recs group that said, hey, we don't have enough coaches, so we're not going to overpopulate the other teams. So if someone from one of your group of 10 kids doesn't step up to manage or coach this team, your kids won't be able to play. We had 4 coaches on that team. When it comes to something that they want to do, if it's, hey, we're going to take it away from you, it's a completely different value prop. It's a completely different discussion. If they want those kids to bowl, and really more importantly, if those kids want to bowl, they will get involved. They absolutely will, but we have to ask those questions. But it's all about them having fun. The whole piece is. It absolutely is. This league development guide, we're going to walk through it. there's a lot of words on these slides. And I'm breaking every rule I have today for building a quality presentation, which is 7 lines down and 7 words across. I mean, everything that I know about giving a good presentation is being broken today. I'm not going to read these slides verbatim because they're in your league development guide, but I am going to pick out certain things within them, and we're going to talk about them as we go along. I'll leave it to you to read these pieces later. But, yes, sir. How many of you are paying for your coaches to be a part of your league programs? Absolutely. And these are the types of questions that I'm hoping for. I really am hoping. Yeah, most of them use it as volunteer. Mr. Summer, if you wouldn't mind, would you give us a minute and a half on how you do your middle school program? With the coaches? Yeah, I think the simple answer to your question is some are and some aren't. The larger answer is, if you're going to go that route, how do you pay for it? How many of you are charging a registration fee for a kid to bowl in your league on top of the league fees? It's growing. That's good, because that can certainly put some funds together to do some of those specific things. By the way, yes, sir. Sure. Yeah, it's never been more available than it is today. I would recommend to everyone, if asked, that you should have certified coaches. But I would tell you most of the other sports aren't doing that. So it's not a requirement. But we are making it easier and easier. If you don't know, and if you don't know much about our USA coaching program, you should look it up. Emily's going to be here tomorrow afternoon to talk about some of that in her system of bowling. But literally, we're giving free clinics all over the country to empower those youth volunteers, is what I like to call them. The backbone of youth sports is volunteers, whether it's baseball, soccer, or anything else. So it's just one of those things that you come to a USA Bowling coaching seminar, you leave with a 150-page curriculum, some of the small pieces to go with it, but you also are eligible to go get your level 1 certification online for free. And that's a wonderful partnership that we have with USBC Coaching. Yes, ma'am? Yep, there's another piece of it, registered volunteer program. We recommend it highly. There's not a lot of proprietors that are doing that for everybody in the country. But background checks for volunteer coaches, yes, sir? It's a great question. It's going to be a local answer. I would tell you absolutely there are some areas that would take place. Yep. Yep. Absolutely, it's a great idea. Somebody in the back there. Yes, sir? We asked all our Yep, barter and trade. One more, and then we'll move on from coaching. Yes, ma'am. More barter trade type agreements. You have a lot of tools in your center. That's the reality of what we're talking about here. Yeah, and everybody's example is going to be a little bit different. But it doesn't necessarily have to be paid cash out of your pocket. By the way, the gentleman that asked that original question, thanks for the question. Will you stand up for just a second? Do you know that this gentleman, the original question. This gentleman holds the candlepin bowling record for the single highest score in one string. At 2:45, I bowled my first candlepin game. I asked him, what am I supposed to bowl? And he said, well, you kind of know what you're doing, so you'll probably bowl between 70 and 80. 77, first game. Got to over 100 the second game, but it was a lot of fun. If you haven't been candlepin bowling in a while, I suggest it. The first piece of the league development guide, this is the system of bowling that I talked about this morning. There are certainly things that come on top of this, and Emily's going to get into detail, and we'll go into each program individually here in a few minutes, but we've broken them in to get them in, get them excited, and get them committed. Everything that we're doing is centered around getting them in, recruitment, and then retaining by getting them excited and getting them committed. If you can get your mind wrapped around that piece, you will start dumping everything you're doing into one or the other, and you'll find that, hey, maybe I'm doing too much over here and I'm not doing enough over here. Why am I not retaining them? Why am I not doing this? Wait a minute, I don't have more kids coming in. But it's a balance of both. Any business planning will certainly be that. So we've got to get them in, get them excited, get them committing. Who's run a bowling blast-off before? A few of you? this is a huge tool that I just don't know why it doesn't pick up. I will tell you, when I was a kid, and again, for those of you that are kind of straining to see, all of this information is in your league development guide, so if you follow along, it should be right in front of you. I remember when I was a kid, we did this at the start of every bowling season. We invited in the entire community into our bowling center. And we gave them, I think at that point in time, it was 25-cent hot dogs and 25-cent Pepsis and anything that we could do to get them in on one Saturday for a couple hours. And then we basically signed them up for leagues towards the end of it as they were walking out the door. That, in a nutshell, is what a blast-off is. The cool thing about the blast-off is they can go on at any time during the year. For the most part, we are flooring youth leagues fall, winter, and summer. There are a lot of months between fall and winter. There are a lot of months between winter and summer. There's a whole other season called spring that we could be flooring these types of leagues. You could run a blast-off the first week in March, which, oh, by the way, there's certain sports that are ending in those 8-week periods too, where you can go market to these kids in the middle of it. That literally you would be flooring those kids from your blast-off into a summer programming. You run one towards the end of summer that you're doing for the fall. You run one for the fall that maybe you're doing an 8-week league between October and Christmas. There just are a lot of ways to do this. We'll cover it just quick. But a one-day extravaganza designed to get the community, especially kids, excited about bowling. It certainly gets community into your center. If you're running one of these, talk to your radio station. If you're giving away discounts or something for free for a few hours on a Saturday afternoon, that's things that they want to be a part of. Most communities of a certain size, and I always get in trouble when I generalize because I know there's probably a lot of small centers in here too, we've got to start marketing, media, maybe not newspaper because those are buys, but where are you putting your flyers? Are you trading resources with your YMCA or your Parks and Recs? Because you certainly have something that they want, which is your entire league base, that they can market their programs to, and you guys could do it on the flip side of that. Obviously, your web pages, web banners, all over that youth resource center where you can pull them down and customize them and place them on your web pages and run a successful blast-off. And this seems complicated, but I just assure you it's not. You have businesses that would love to advertise in your center, and you would love to drive revenue from that. But if you traded and you ended up with 24, 28 kids that you didn't have before, wouldn't that be better than maybe a couple $100 for a banner placement in the center or a poster or something like that? It would. It'd be great if you could do both and couple them together. That would be awesome. A few bucks to place a business in your center, and oh, by the way, you get to place your stuff wherever it is that they're at. Those are successful ways to go to market. Obviously, you've got some budget, advertise the event. These steps to success are important, and they're all there for you just to walk through and execute the program. I would tell you, every youth program that you are doing on a somewhat large scale should start with a blast-off. Everyone. All. Everyone. I only saw 4 or 5 hands go up. So this is something that we're certainly not doing that I think can have impact. And if we can help you do that, we certainly want to do that. 8 for 8. Massively successful. I was really excited when I put this slide together because I achieved greatness in the number of words I put on this slide. The simple of this program is $8 a week for 8 weeks of bowling, and you get a custom drilled bowling ball as part of that. It's that simple. We're providing quality marketing materials to go with it. We even went as far as working with our folks at USBC, and we popped a free membership for USBC in there as part of it. Who has heard about this program but chose not to run it? Anybody that confident or bold today? Why? I don't have the ability to drill. Okay, good reason. How far to the nearest pro shop or someone that could drill? Okay. Anybody else that didn't run it? Yes, ma'am? They had candy bars earlier. I'd give you a candy bar right now if I had one, but we can't afford the candy bars. But that's a great idea. That's thinking outside the box. That's saying, hey, I got this piece, I can make it better. That's awesome. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Yeah. The interesting about that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, I was joking around when we put this program together. We really want 16 for 8. 8 for 8 just sounds cooler because you'd be able to put some of the drilling fees of the bowling balls in there, and we'd be marrying with pro shops, and it would all make sense. And, oh, by the way, we're going to put a few more ducats in our pockets, which is really what we want to do anyway. It's just tough. And people say all the time, well, 10 for 10 and 12 for 12 and for 15 for 15, and but go, do it. I'm in. It makes sense to me. With one little bit of difference. Once you get longer, you shrink the number of kids that will enter it in the beginning. You just do. If you can get them in 8 for 8, and the next time you roll them to 10 or 12, but if you can get 12 and you're going to teach them how to do 30 weeks, I'm for it. But there's got to be a starting point. It's not just 0 to 30. Yes, sir. I would tell you every youth program in this country today is running off a registration program, a registration fee. You charge $25, they get a paid membership to USBC, you might get some scholarship money as part of it, you might get a bowling ball. There's lots of ways to spend that cat. I mean, there just is. But it's like we didn't catch up to that one for some reason. And I don't think you'll have a parent in America balk at a registration fee because they're doing it with every other program. I mean, I know we do. We spend a lot of money on my son to play baseball, and we have a blast doing it. It's a social event for us and others, but no real different than what we do when we go bowling. It's really kind of similar. It's the same. We're investing in him and the education and competition that he's doing. Yes, ma'am? It would be wonderful. Combine 8 for 8 and maybe USA Bowling 101 or the mainstream sports and do them together. Absolutely. Talk about secret sauce. We're home. Because we're giving them enough instruction to give them to teach some of the game. But there'll be situations where they don't want that. Where they're not advanced far enough to get it. So if we get them in and just kind of get them excited, we get at that ball and it's custom drilled. That's a big part of it. The ball fits. So we're able to get them to where they can, just do something with it. But there are all kinds of variations that are possible. It's whether we should be doing them or not. Can you do this without us? Yeah. You really don't need us for this. I mean, you can call your local distributor, you can call the pro shop and say, how do we do this? Can you help us do this? Can you buy the balls, put it together? You don't need us. I'm okay with that. Go do it. I mean, it doesn't matter to me as long as we're activating youth bowling. That part's easy for me. We get 750,000 kids in our coffers bowling organization. I'll go find something else to do. This is what it's about for me. It really just doesn't matter. We've just got to activate it. But to that point, and I only make one point against doing it without us. If you are going to do it without us, do it with high quality marketing materials. If you're doing it without us and you want some help building those, we are glad to help. If you don't want to use the 8 for 8 creative, we will help you build it. We will customize it to your look and feel and your center. We will provide those business services. But if you're going to run these programs without us, please do it with high quality content, because I'm telling you, it's a big part of it. You got to get something to catch somebody's eye. A mom or a dad or a grandparent. Man, you get a bowling ball and it's $64 and I also get to bowl. Man, why wasn't awesome? So I think everybody kind of knows what's going on here. If you're not running this program right now, we're still going to be selling kits. It goes all the way through September, so there's lots of time. I will tell you this is a perfect time to buy an 8 for 8 kit because you're going to turn around in 3 or 4 weeks from now, you're going to floor an 8 for 8 program, and then you're going to roll them right into your fall league session. I mean, literally, it almost fits right to the T. It's not June and July for leagues like we've always done before. It's July and August. But you can literally roll them right into your fall league if you catch them with the hook, as Mr. Summer likes to talk about when he goes fishing. We just got to get them excited about it one time, and they're going to come back for as long as we take care of them in those centers. And all of these things that we're talking about, they roll into each other. 5 for 55. Kim Sims up at Fox Bowl kind of brought this one to my attention. And I thought it was interesting because it's only $55. Why would a proprietor run that type of program? But 8 for 8, 64, 5 for 55 is kind of the same thing. You brand it with Bowlopolis for the little kids. The smaller ones. That brand is designed for 8 and unders. So you use that high quality content with it. One thing I'd like to point out with this segment Contains an hour and a half sessions with each segment not to exceed 30 minutes and divided into 5 to 10 minute increments. What's the attention span of a 7-year-old? Yeah, it's 3 to 5 minutes per year, right, Emily? Isn't that what we did in the research? 3 to 5 minutes. What did I say? 3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes per year. Say it one more time and I'll catch it. 3 to 5 minutes per year. So 35 minutes is max for a 7-year-old. But for the most part, we're putting them in a Saturday morning program and asking them to bowl for 2.5 hours. Why it works. Bowlers are kept active and engaged. Each week reinforces the previous week's lesson while adding small pieces. Repetition in the keys and the drills provide a significant positive. I'm missing it, but there's no scoring in this program. You're going to see 2 programs that we have in this piece that have no scoring. None. We're just teaching them how to get from either the back of the foul line to the approach, which is how I always like to talk about it, but that really isn't it, is it? We're talking about a 7-year-old. We're talking about staggered stance with a delivery. There's no back of the approach. There is a foul line. We're just trying to get them to where they can keep the ball in the lane. I mean, you guys have all seen the faces of that kid that's just gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball. When they move from bumpers and they're knocking all these pins down, and then they graduate into not using bumpers. That first time they hit the head pin, and most of them go down, what do? They light up. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So 5 for 55, we're going to talk about USA Bowling 101 in a minute. But again, just another tool for your toolbox. Scouts. How many people have scout troops in your area? If you didn't just raise your hand, you don't know it, but you have scouts in your area. They're everywhere. 2.9 million of them. Girl Scouts, 3.1 million. I will tell you one of the biggest challenges we have as an industry. We got a bunch of them. But I will tell you the biggest challenge we have as an industry is getting young girls to go bowling. When you look at how the numbers have dropped off over the years, it is incredible, scary. When I figured it out, I sat there at my computer for like 15 minutes and I was literally like, oh my gosh, it used to be about 60-40, 57%, 42%. We're getting close to 70-30 boys to girls. And we've got to have something where we can engage young girls. It's a big part of our pieces of it. And when I have this conversation, everybody says, well, there's no women's tour. I agree, I want one. We'd love to have one back. And I think it's a big part of it. The aspirational value of those types of things. I'd launch one tomorrow. But unfortunately, I'd have to write a personal check to do it. And it wouldn't really last very long. Because I can't fund it. But these scout troops are there in your local areas. I mean, they're everywhere. Ideas for success. Establish a meeting with a scouting executive. How many of you have done that? A few of you. Do you know that if you go to the BoyScoutsOfAmerica.org, there is a feature on that website where you can put in your zip code and it will spit out the contact of your local troop leader, including phone number and email. These guys are a phone call away. That's right. We're going to get to that in just a second. It's BoyScoutsOfAmerica.org. Girl Scouts is the same, and they have the same search feature on there. I mean, you literally put in a zip code, and it pops it out. And I know all these things, these aren't necessarily new ideas or new things, but, I mean, we're looking for this type of stuff all the time. There's a group in Florida at Boardwalk. Kendra Gaines and Lisa Yuknovich have engaged a group down there. We met with the Boy Scouts of America extensively. I just kept having meetings. We kept trying to figure something out, but we couldn't get there. They wanted a lot of money for a Boy Scout merit badge, and we just couldn't get there. But all the activations were going to be local anyway. It was going to be you guys picking up the phone and finding that scout leader and making it happen. It really wasn't going to happen nationally. But establish a meeting, pick up the phone, call them, say, hey, I know you guys meet once a week. Where do you meet at? Are you paying to have your scout meeting somewhere? Would you have it in my meeting room? We could do maybe pizzas or something, or food and beverage, and we'll do it inexpensively. And then towards the end of every 8 weeks, we'll let them bowl league for maybe 3 weeks at a time, or 4 weeks at a time. No? Will that work? I think it will. Yes, ma'am. Great point. And it leads me to something that I don't do a whole lot, but it's important. I always forget about it because I'm just so driven to league bowling. But it doesn't have to start with a league activation. It can activate through a birthday party. It can activate something through the much simpler than that. A Boy Scout troop or a Girl Scout troop essentially having a Saturday afternoon where they paid, whatever you decided or negotiated with, and they just had fun. It was kind of a bonding experience with the Scouts. But there are a couple pieces within it, and I haven't got to them yet, but you get them to put a committee together, you get a group together, you start talking. There's just a lot of ways to do it. And I didn't break the record with this one, but there are a lot of words on this slide. Speak at district meetings. Maybe you've helped finance some of it just to get them in. Boy Scouts has defined awards for Cub Scouts, and bowling fulfills a requirement of the merit badges of sporting and athletics. A lot of these things will fit into some other badges that are not bowling, but they do have a belt loop for Cub Scouts. There is a bowling belt loop for Cub Scouts. So it's something that they have to achieve, and they've got to do it in your center. It's that simple. Help scouting. During their fall recruitment, use scouting PSAs, public service announcements on your local monitors. In return for them meeting in your center and forming a league, wouldn't you be willing to kind of promote scouting in your center when they do their fall league development drive? I mean, we just would. It's trading. It's networking. It's communicating. It's partners. It's relationships. It's community. It's a lot of things that we used to be, and I sure hope we get back to them. I really, truly do, and I know with your help we can do that. Scouting.org is the simple way to do that. USA Bowling 101. Ray Beatty's in the room. This really came from Ray. He was one of our first USA Bowling mainstream sports model centers. And he said, you're missing something on the front end of that. This is a system. It's not a program. And we got into kind of developing it. But very simply put, it's a short season introductory program. You can run any ages through you wanted through this. Focuses on teaching fundamentals of bowling to youths. Weeks 1 through 7 consist of focusing on learning everything from bowling etiquette to a 4-step approach. We forget that there is etiquette in bowling. How many of your kids in your junior leagues today know how to keep score? Whoo! We should be teaching that. That is something that we should be spending time on. And we have tools for you to do that. We absolutely do. And they're in the Resource Center. I mean, we absolutely should. A 4-step approach by score is not kept at any point during the exercises. It is important for beginners to not allow results to dictate their progress. How does soccer do it with the little kids? They keep score? They have goalies? They don't even have goalies. Why don't they have goalies? Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm with you there. The first thing I said, they don't care about the scores. Yeah, it's a safety issue. The attacker is stronger than the defender. A kid gets a ball hit at him, he's not strong enough to stop it. It goes in and hits his nose. It's literally a safety issue. But when you take those types of things, think about all the other successful sports. There is a piece of development. It's athlete development as they move through the cycle. T-ball, advanced T-ball, coach pitch, kid pitch. Kid pitch doesn't start till 9s, maybe 10, sometimes 11. Sometimes there's a machine there in the middle of it. So how do we do that? We just give them some bowling. We say, here, try to keep it on the lane for 4 or 5 times out of the next 10. Don't worry about your score. We don't even turn the scorers on if we don't have to, so that they're not so consumed by how well they're doing. They don't keep it on the lane one shot, they keep it on the lane the next shot, and you've got half the battle won. I hope that makes sense to everybody. This one's easy. It's a common misconception among youths that they have to be skilled at bowling to participate competitively. USA 101 was a program designed to attract new bowlers in a non-competitive environment. All kids start in a non-competitive environment. But yet the first thing we do in most Saturday mornings programs is get out there, they throw a couple shots, and they start scoring. There's got to be a process to this. There really does. So if you start them out in a 5 for 55 or a USA Bowling 101, which is really just to learn to bowl, it's really just technically a learn to bowl class. And you don't have them keeping score and they get some of the basic skills. And then we progress. Steps to success. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but because I'm just going to keep beating the marketing on you. High quality marketing materials placed in the right place is a powerful, powerful tool. What is the message that you want to convey? Is your program the same program that you've been marketing for years? Or is there a big red new on it? It doesn't have to be any different. It just has a big red new on it. I was in a meeting a few weeks ago. Libby will think this is funny, but I started talking about that button. Are you willing to hit that button? And somebody said, is it a red button? Put a big red button on that flyer that says new. One coach per team would be awesome. Compete with friends. Learn to bowl. Those aren't new concepts, but for some reason, bowling is a healthy way to live. High quality marketing materials. Graduate your bowlers into another program or a league. Homeschool. And I'll ask you to read through this one. How many of you are activating homeschool programs around the country? Awesome. What's the biggest segment of education that's growing in this country? Okay, it's homeschool. I'm on this slide, so I gave that one away. It is the biggest segment that's growing in this country. And a lot of the states that you are in provide a PE credit for homeschoolers when they go do things that are physical. Bowling is a healthy way to live. Investigate that with your states. Put a small homeschool group together. Emily, help me out. What's the website? Somebody say that louder. Well, HomeEdDirectory.com. Thank you. HomeEdDirectory.com. It's a real good website, and essentially you can, again, it's not zip code search, but I think it's city and state. Yeah. So you will end up basically being able to find homeschoolers that have registered in your area. And just simple tools that are just right there for us if we'll go get them. At the end of that, take all of those programs that we just kind of ran through and run any of them. It's just engaging with that homeschool parent. And as you can imagine, that homeschool parent that's got 2 kids that they're homeschooling, how do they make it social? They know all the other homeschool parents. They're doing things together already. So again, it doesn't have to start with a league activation. It can be a field trip or something to the center. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to bring that point up. I get they were able to get out and things like that.
Yeah, it's a creative conversation. I don't doubt at all that what you're talking about is that piece, but we've got to figure out a way in those situations to have a conversation that makes sense. It's certainly going to be some give and some receive because they do believe that, but it really isn't any different than any other piece. I mean, if somebody comes in from a school to a field trip, they're probably paying for that. The school is. If they're activating a bowler's ed program and you roll them into a 6 or 8 week league, they're paying for that. So the homeschoolers would actually be getting something different that's over and above what a typical school. They just don't know that. They're programmed to speak that way. And it doesn't make them bad people. I like free things too. But it's just communication. But again, this is a segment that really is untapped for us for the most part. Who's tired and think that this is way too much for me, I can't do any of this? Okay, that's good. After school bowling. How many of you have run Kids Bowl free programs? How many of you like the Kids Bowl free programs? How many of you think that that's crazy that we're teaching a new generation of bowlers that bowling's free? Okay, it looks like I'm going to fall on deaf ears on that one. I too like the Kids Bowl free program for really one reason, and that's the data that comes with it. It's the traffic that you're driving. I love it that it drives revenue for you guys in the summer. But we surveyed the Kids Bowl free. We took 7 centers. Jeannie, you're in here, right? I think Jeannie, you in here somewhere? Jeannie Center was one, Frank Wilkinson was one, Nancy Shank was one. They gave us their databases, and we asked them a bunch of questions. And we said, they're a prime group because they're bowling all summer long. And so they're a prime group to ask questions about when you would want a youth program and what should it look like and all of those things. And we asked them, in what day of the week would you be more apt to start bowling in a league? And we, of course, put Saturday mornings in there. Who wouldn't put that in there, right? That's what we do. Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon. Did I miss Saturday afternoon? So 6 times. Anybody want to guess what the number one answer is? Tuesday and Thursdays. Anybody want to guess what the worst answer was? Yeah. Man, let's just keep marketing those Saturday morning programs. We're going to get them. We're going to get them all. They're coming. They're not doing anything else on Saturday mornings. And I'm not suggesting that we stop running Saturday morning programs. I'm basically making a joke. The Saturday morning program is the lifeblood of what we do. And I think I get confusing sometimes because we are not suggesting at all that you move from a Saturday morning program. But if you used to have 400 kids in your Saturday morning program and you have 150 in your Saturday morning program today, keep trying to grow it. But go get those 250 kids on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon in an adult youth program. There are a lot of ways here. And after school programming is one of them. Who used to run buses to the schools? Anybody? Got too expensive and insurance and all that went with that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this program, but Emily did a whole presentation on it last year, and if you'd like to see it, we'll get you a copy of it. It was a great presentation. But this is a segment that we can, and we should cultivate. After school can mean a lot of things. And you just floor a Tuesday program with 12 kids. That's probably more than you have today. Thursday afternoon's a different 12 kids. Could be more than you have today. I mean, these are kind of simple things. There's a lot of information here, and you can certainly look at it. And guess what? Market your program. Market the secret sauce, those quality marketing materials. Just gonna keep going on that one. Another option, USA Bowling. Again, Emily's going to cover a lot of these things tomorrow in detail, but this is Little League Baseball in a bowling center. A lot of words on a page. The simple of it is Little League Baseball in a bowling center. 1 coach per team. Separate practice from competition. Sounds crazy, right? 8 weeks instead of 30. 10 weeks maybe. They practice, then they compete. Then they practice and compete over an 8-week period. But they practice, then they compete. They don't practice for 10 minutes and then start scoring. We give them some skills. We have a coach that monitors the program. And hey, is it really a coach or is it more like a team mom or a team manager, someone that kind of herds the cats, as I always like to say? I mean, we want to have high-quality certified coaches. But if we get people excited in it, we ran a program at the ITRC, and one of my buddies was one of the coaches, and he told me, I just can't say no now. I just enjoyed the program so much with the kids. Once you get them in, they'll be there. But this is a very simple things. And I say this, kids benefit from instruction by qualified coaches. In the end, it's fun. It's teams competing. Back to that peer-to-peer piece that we talked about earlier. Go back to what makes a successful youth activation and extracurricular activities. 2 of the pieces were what? Parents' participation and peer-to-peer. That is what this was designed for. The other thing is you would agree that we've got to get outside our 4 walls and get more folks in. They don't need to learn our programming if we're running this program. This is what they're doing today in every other sport. We are the only ones that don't do it this way. The funny part is everybody says, well, bowling's an individual sport. It's not a team sport. And I always say, well, why are you doing 3-man teams on Saturday morning? Right? Because the high end of our game, the PBA, is individually, we look at it as an individual sport. And I think there are some kids that certainly want to go there. And we want them to aspirationally think that way. I know my 9-year-old thinks he's going to play in the majors. I'm here to tell you, it's not going to happen.
But you're never going to tell him that.
You're exactly right, young lady. It's okay, because it's driving him to get better in all the things that he's doing. Some of those things that they learn from bowling, they will take to other places, just like they'll come from there and come to us. The beauty of bowling is they don't have to quit when they're 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds or 8. They're here forever. I mean, I'm still here. I've been doing it a long time. I never got really good, but I felt like I was pretty good there for a while, and it goes like this, and it comes in cycles, but I'm not quitting. It's in my blood now. Everybody, it can be like that, and I know it's like that for a lot of you. But this is a piece that, again, if you don't have to explain a program and how it works, and I don't want to get shot, but if we're not talking about 66 2/3 or 80% and 90%, where there's no confusion about the scoring. It's exactly how they do it in other sports. You wouldn't start a baseball game off 3-0. Would you? But that's the way we've structured it here. And I'm not suggesting that we eliminate handicap. I'm saying both can exist. And we will be more successful if we will support both. We've got a recreational side of this game. If we will add a competitive side to it, and here is your model for that, we will be more successful. Steps to success. There it is, right in the middle. Market your program. Decorate your center, an online presence. All the marketing materials are available for you to do it, including a fully integrated how-to guide inside that Youth Resource Center. It's first thing, you click on the button, USA Bowling, how-to. Click on it, download the how-to. It's all right there for you. It really, truly is. We've tried to make it so simple that it can happen that easy. Is any of this easy? No. And Diane, do you mind saying that a little louder? It's work. It's work. I love you for saying it. Because I feel like I'm always the one saying it, and I feel like I'm asking people to do something that's outside the norm. It's work. But the payoff is that 25 years from now, these kids will be bowling in their adult leagues, and their kids will be bowling in youth leagues. We spend a lot of time trying to get that 35 or 40-year-old bowler to come back into the sport, or maybe try it for the first time, and we should continue to work on that. But we can do that by building our youth programs today. We'll drive revenue, right? Everybody drives revenue from youth play. Everybody says, well, I don't make any money off youth. Well, go ahead. There's nothing saying that you can't make money off of it. Charge a registration fee. Don't make it so expensive that it doesn't compete with the other sports in your market. But if you're running a 10-week league and you get $85 for a USA Bowling type activation because that's what they're getting for baseball, but you're getting 2 touches a week because they're coming in F&B, they're probably going to hit the arcade before they leave. I mean, you think about all those things, you're actually driving more money in this program than you probably would in your standard Saturday morning youth program for the same period of time. The difference is we're going to focus on it every 8 or 10 or 12 weeks. You will reactivate. You will remarket. It's just work, as Diane says. If we will commit and focus to this, I'm telling you, we can turn this thing around. We absolutely can. Saturday mornings. Who's got a successful Saturday morning program? Who doesn't have a Saturday morning program? A few of you. So we're going to give you the goods to that. It's going to be in steps to success in there. All the things that go with that. We will always continue to support this piece. The beauty of the Saturday morning program is what? It can be duplicated on Sunday afternoon. It can also be duplicated on Saturday afternoon. Oh wait. It can be duplicated on Tuesday afternoon. Thursday afternoon. Wednesday afternoon. There's a lot of folks that have come into these seminars, and there's folks, some of them that walk out and just say, he's completely lost his mind. And I don't disagree sometimes, because I always make it sound like it's too easy. I'm not asking you to do anything differently than you've always been doing. All I'm asking you to do is do it more often. Add a spring session. Add a Tuesday night. Add a Thursday night. If you'll offer some of these other programs that we're talking about to get variety as part of the package, we'll be more successful. I had somebody tell me recently, well, we just don't have any lane beds during the week. Great. You're doing something right. Don't let me get in your way. That one's easy. Tournaments. Who's running tournaments? Keep doing it. I could go all day. We could give another 2 hours on all the different ways that we could do tournaments. Who's running adult youth leagues that turn into a tournament? Family tournament. Doubles, twisters. That extravaganza that they were talking about this morning, where they took the head pin out. It seemed like there was some low ball going on there. I don't know exactly what that's going on, but I liked it. It looked fun to me. Would it look fun to a group of 8, 9, or 10-year-olds? I think it would. Anything that you can do to make it more fun than it currently is. Be creative. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on tournaments, but there's just so many ways. Are you qualifying kids to junior gold? If you are, great. If you're not, I'd ask you why not. If you still don't want to support the program, start your own tournament club in your backyard. If you don't have lanes on Saturday afternoon to run a tournament or Thursday afternoons, I get it. But if you do, let's do it. It's all going to go back really to one simple word. Diane. It's just work. But the payoff is huge. How many? Frankie, you in the back? He's still in here or did he leave? He's heard it too many times already. He's tired of me. This is the Rabs Country Lanes yearly supply of leagues. 23 of them. Talk about the guy that's committed to youth bowling. And it's paying off. He's, number 3 in the country. Could you run 23 activations in a year's time? Now again, some of those, you can see it Friday at 4 o'clock. He's splitting those into scholarship leagues and junior masters and novices and ages. Instead of just marking it back to the extracurricular activities, right? Peer-to-peer. What if we started marketing that we're actually putting them in those buckets? So they knew that an 8-year-old is going to be here and a 10-year-old is going to be here and a 14-year-old is going to be here. Oh wait, well we could just use the age U15s and U20s and U12s. That's a pretty simple communication tool. There's lots of ways to do this. Anybody in here running more than 23 activations in a year's time? Awesome. I mean, there's just so many ways. But we've got to do it. We have to. And I won't tell you it's the only way that we're going to rebuild this great sport. Is it a sport? Is it a game? Is it an activity? It's entertainment. It's an experience. Which means it falls into all of those things. Is the experience the same for me as it might be for you? No, it's not. So if we service in a one-size-fits-all manner, will we be servicing everyone? We just won't be. I close with a couple thoughts. Obviously, I'm closing with the Youth Resource Center because it was built for you guys. Anybody have a great idea that we didn't talk about today? Yes, sir. Use your high school kids. Use your collegiate kids. Use anyone that you feel like could teach bowling. Be careful, who it is and do you trust them and those types of things because, you don't want to put 18-year-old boys with 9-year-old girls. But as long as you're in the buckets, boys and boys and girls, there's no reason not to do that. Anybody else have a great idea? Ray. And what Ray's saying there is essentially, how about a blast-off that combines 8-for-8 and 101 together that puts those kids into a USA Bowling program and or your Saturday morning program over a year's time? That's some pretty powerful system of bowling right there. Anybody else have a great idea? Yes, sir. Kids Bowl Free works as a get them in. But what we do with them after we get them in is extremely important. I mean, I'm not going to stand here today and tell you that I love that program, because I do believe that we are teaching a generation of kids that bowling is free, and that is scary for me. We won't know until I'm right on that one for a very long period of time. But that's scary for me. But the one or two things that it does that is extremely powerful is it gives you a database to market to. Anybody counting on how many times I talk about marketing our programs today? I mean, it's a bunch. But it gives you a database to market to. And with some of the things that we talked about today, you can literally drop a short season cycle on those kids and try to activate them into organized play. If you got 1,000 of them and you get 10 to 15 of them, that's success. I had somebody tell me recently, well, I had 12 kids, but I didn't floor them. Why? Well, I didn't really have enough. It wasn't worth my time and energy. What does 12 turn into the second time? More than 12. I mean, I won't say 20, but I'll tell you it's more than 12, because if they have fun, they're going to bring a friend. I would still tell you probably the number one reason that people go bowling is because someone said, hey, you want to bowl Friday nights with me? I mean, it's an easy thing to get yourself around. Yes, ma'am. Love it. You didn't see anything in here for daycares. Is there a market there? Is it a big one? Yeah. Pre-Ks. I mean, it's enormous when you think about it. And if we can get them started at that point, and everybody's, well, bumpers, non-bumpers, I don't care. If they're bowling, that's good for us. If they are making the commitment to go bowling once, twice, 3, 8, we got a shot, as long as the number is 1. We got a shot at keeping them low. Yeah.
I want to go bowling again.
Is that, and I just ask you the question because I just want to make sure the message is clear. Is that a get them in, get them excited, or get them committed? It is, but it starts by getting them in. Charities, fundraisers, anything that have to do with kids that are walking into your bowling center. I still would tell you there's a whole generation of kids out there that really don't even know what bowling is at this point. Yeah, there's just lots of ways, and I'm going to cut you guys loose because I know it's been a long day for everybody, and including some of us. But it's been an incredible day. Enough of the great ideas. To anybody with a good idea? Mr. Summer. Yeah, and John's making a simple example to a very complex solution. But if you don't mind real quick, Mike, will you please stand up? Melissa, John, and Ray. Will you guys just please stand up for a second? Mr. Summer, I'm sorry I called you John. Mike, if you don't mind. Put a face to these guys. And I say this with all due respect for everybody else in the room. Everybody in here has great ideas, and I will tell you that they will all work. And when I do these seminars, I always think, man, we've got to give them more tools. We've got to give them more tools. We've got to do more stuff. These 4 people are your resources just as much as anyone. They'll talk about youth bowling all day with you. So feel free to ask them questions. When you see them tonight at the welcome reception, start a conversation. We didn't cover middle school bowling. We didn't talk about high school bowling. We didn't talk about a lot of different things today. And there's going to be other things that you guys come up and keep up over time. But put a face on these guys, and then we'll put more faces on it. Thank you. You guys can sit down. But ask them questions. These are groups that have been doing it for an awful long time. I always say, don't take my word for it. But there are folks that have run all of these things. Take their word for it. If we'll get back to it, it'll work. It'll work. There's a lot more good ideas. And I just close with a couple thoughts. And if you were in the annual meeting this morning, you saw me do my thing. And this can happen. It is possible. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that have given up on this segment because we're not focused on it. We're not engaged, and we're not doing all those things. If you are not using Bowler's Ed in your marketplace to do today, do it. It's a simple and easy program. We provide a free curriculum. Literally, send us an email. We send you a curriculum. You walk it over to the school. I mean, everybody should be doing at least that. I mean, there's so many simple and easy tools that go with some of these things that can turn into, where does the light bulb go off? And John just used something that I really like. We've got a whole group of wins. Get a few wins under your belts. Get one win under your belt. And then just watch it progress over time. Small numbers turn into big numbers. Yes, ma'am. It's the same thing. I mean, we can alter the creative materials. We can do it for you if you want to. We're not in a position to roll out a national program with it, but it doesn't mean that we can't build it for you individually. That would be my simple answer to that. Adaptive needs. Huge market. Again, and we'd love for them to bowl for a lifetime. That goes with that. So another, good comment, great idea. I'll leave you with this. I'm not crazy. I'm not. It might seem like it, but I believe in this game, sport, and activity. And I think you all do, and I think that's why you're here. I think the fact that you made the commitment to take money out of your pocket to come to an event like that says loud and clear, we've got to do more. We've got to do better. And we built a youth department there at the campus. And one of the things that you're going to see from us moving forward, we got a new membership product coming out August 1st for 14. And we know that we, had some folks mistrusting us over some of the things that we did with awards and handicap and all the things that go with that. Give us until August 1 on that before you judge it. When you see the new product and the new piece that goes with it, I think everyone will be very happy with what we're doing there. And if you're not, please call me personally. Because it's one of those things where that membership piece is not the end-all, be-all. We have to get into markets. We have to start marketing to these kids. And to that end, we're hiring 4 more people going to 6. We're going to have 6 youth development specialists in the field that are available to help you activate youth bowling. 2 numbers to take home with you. 1,506 centers in this country that do not certify one kid with USBC. 1,899 that certify less than 50 kids. That's 3,405 centers in this country that certify less than 49 kids. We got some work to do. And that's just the bare-faced bones of it. And we're so committed to it, we're hiring 6 people to put them out in the field and do whatever you want them to do. That seems kind of crazy, but that is literally the commitment that we're making. And if it works, we'll hire 4 more. I mean, that's how committed we are to this segment. We are here for you. If you look at some of this and stuff and say, I think I could do that, then just do that. And just do it over and over again very, very well. If you can do that and one other, that would be great. But don't try and start by doing 10 of them. Just pick one and do it really well. Get focused on it, and get driven to it, and do it really well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your energy. Have a great Bowl Expo.